you start looking at the price of Inspire as an investment to make sure that then all the criteria are met with respect to what you want, and also you found the best conditions. You landed on the best conditions to buy what you want, which is really not secondary aspect in this process. So,
Welcome everyone to a new interview here. I said a few times recently that the number of young international buyers in Barcelona is increasing, and I think it will further increase in the next months and next year as well. Today we're talking to a very special person who represents exactly this buyer segment. We have with us today Davide. Davide is an Italian gentleman living since 8 years in Barcelona, 28 years old, if I'm not mistaken, working in the tech sector. It's a gentleman that impressed me from the start with his vision, with his energy, with the preparation when it comes to thinking of buying a property in this beautiful city. Welcome, Davide.
yeah, I just bought it last week, very end of last week. So it's been a few days. Still feels like it didn't happen for real. Actually, it was, I wouldn't say it was a long process, but it definitely was an emotional roller coaster at some points. As you know, it's a big step, of course. You see these many more times than I do. And especially for someone that is young, and even though it's been already a few years that I live in Barcelona, so I knew the city, I knew the market. I wasn't really that expert on it, which was one of the reasons why at the beginning I started working with you guys.
Came very prepared, huh? I said it's amazing to see that passion that you have for property. And I would think that people like yourself that work in the tech industry, I would assume that you would invest in startups, in stock markets, in crypto. But you said no, it's going to be a property.
Yeah.
Stop paying rent and having. Where does this passion come from?
Well, I would say this has been transmitted to me by my dad, which has always been, let's say, a property owner in Italy. And then at some point I took over his business. I had a vision that was, I would say, quite different from the one he did. And I proved over a couple of years that the vision was working, and I really fell in love with the whole industry. With a house, you can do so many things. You can live in it. It's the simplest one. You can rent it out. You can do many other things. And also coming from the tech industry, many of us are really used to work on very complex projects. In my case, I work for a software company. So, you're always focused on a different industry that works with different logics, but the real estate property market is really different because you're working on something concrete, on space, and the way you get something out of that space, either it's your personal experience living there or renting it out or doing anything you can actually do with a house. I don't know, it gives me a very different feeling that I wanted to further explore. And actually, I just bought a house for me here in Barcelona to live after many years. As you said, paying a rent, it's of course the thing that you do at the beginning when you're not that sure about where you will live, how long you will be in the city, especially a city like Barcelona, where many of us come and go. But yeah, I think it's my moment naturally arrived, and just wanted to put my hands on something that I was looking for.
Right. For many young people and expats living in Barcelona or people planning to come here, I think buying a property is something that can be on their mind because rents are very high. And if you have a stable job and good income and a bit of savings, the banks are happy to finance purchase as well for many buyers. But can you explain when exactly was the moment that you decided to buy an apartment in Barcelona? Do you remember that?
Yeah, actually, I spent almost the whole year 2022 in Italy, actually working on what I was mentioning before. So working on my dad's business.
Right.
And when I came back, I was like, yeah, I think it's the right moment also for me to settle down a little bit more in Barcelona. It was my, let's say, second life in Barcelona. You mentioned 8 years, but within these 8 years, in 2022, I especially spent the time in Italy. So I came back, I looked at the market with a different eye than the one that I had before. I was a little more, I would say, expert on it. But I also realized that it's much different from the one that I'm used to. I'm from a city in Italy called Torino, where, let's say, the market is more stable, is less dynamic. Also, the entry price to buy an apartment is much less. So even though I came with, I would say, some experience on it, I came with some first-hand experience. I didn't really. So I realized that I wanted to buy a house, but at the same time, I realized that I was missing some knowledge, some expertise. So I remember that was the moment, but at the same time, I realized I wanted to buy a house, but I didn't exactly know how to do in Barcelona, which is a
Because
pretty
you
normal.
came to us when we first talked a few months ago, very very well prepared. You did a lot of reading on the internet. I guess you spoke to quite some people as well, just to absorb as much as possible knowledge about how it works, how it doesn't work in Spain. But what were the doubts that were still there, or the challenges that you still faced that maybe where Google search could not give you sufficient level of confidence, right, on these questions, on these. So, 'cause again, you were well prepared, but where what was missing there?
Well, when you search on Google, you can prepare in many ways, right? So you can search for the average price in a certain area of Barcelona.
Right.
Being here since a while, you can also know the areas that you think will expand in the future, or the ones that are already, super famous. So you will probably pay a premium price for anything you buy there. On Google, you can search for comments of people, but the buying process of a house in Barcelona can be very tricky. So, especially when you read online, you will probably find more bad experiences than good experiences. And then you have to break it down in why, right? So, I think most of the cases is because people think they are really prepared when they are actually not, and they
Mhm.
just do, and they just act. And they not only not plan in advance, but also they don't rely on the right people to do it. So actually, I have no idea of Inspire. I didn't even know that there were companies like Inspire, let's say. But then talking to a friend of mine, he actually suggested me that he had the same doubts that I had. So where should I buy? For how much? Which aspects should I negotiate? Which legal
Right.
terms should I look at to then protect myself when I do a
Mhm.
purchase? and and actually then I discovered Inspire, and I started looking for for your reviews, for the comments of the people. I thought that they were the same doubts that I had, so then I reached out, and we started clarifying those doubts since the very beginning.
If you look back now at the last, because it was not much more than a few months in the end. If you look back at the last few months that we've um, been interacting and helping you, from your point of view, what were the key moments in that process? What moments were really pivotal for you? Where so like that's things that, yeah.
So you might remember that when I first came to your office, I thought I had very clear ideas about what I wanted.
True.
And then you gave me a couple of suggestions that completely changed the paradigm in a matter of 2 hours. So that was definitely a pivotal moment because, again, I was very confident in my ideas. And then you just shook them a little bit. And the output of that meeting for me was very pivotal because I realized that I was looking for something slightly different. Then another pivotal moment was a, let's say, a bad moment, which was when after August, we were waiting for a confirmation to visit an apartment that I
Right.
wanted 100% to put my hands on. It seemed to be perfect at that moment, and it got sold. And that was a very, low moment. And actually, one of the key abilities that you and the people you work with had was to also, sometimes bring and give the motivation to the buyer to don't just fall in that moment and kind of step back a little bit
Right.
from the process, but to keep insisting.
Mhm.
And the last one was when I actually visited the first time the apartment, and then I eventually bought. I wasn't really convinced about many things. It seemed like the renovation was too much. It seemed like the whole building was a little too problematic for some stuff, and it was just in my mind. Then I didn't rationalize the things. And then again, with your help, with the help of Anna as well, she did a great job actually putting everything in the right order, rational order to analyze.
Right.
So those three were, I think, the most important moments, and where the added value was highly perceived.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole process, the added value was there, but in those three moments, you guys were key. I wouldn't have done it
Is
without you.
yeah. That's good to hear. Everybody has these options, but many people don't use the options. You went in the end for a property which is at a very nice location, which is large, but needs a lot of renovation. And what you can't have is very good location, large, and ready to move in, except if you have an unlimited budget, and then these things can happen. So, and I think there again, your practical approach to things or to problem solving or to seeing solutions quickly, which is linked to, I think, the energy and the drive you have, is making it easier for you, because you just see the potential. Whereas some people maybe just see a problem and they say, no, this needs renovation, so that's not for me. While you've managed to open up the scope of the number of potential properties and find something. Whereas we can show here briefly for people where it is. It's in the very center of Barcelona, the historic part of town, the Born district, walking distance from the sea, from the beach to the cathedral. So very good for long-term value as well. And Davide, when I'm sure many people would love to follow your steps and have an asset, own an asset, a property in Barcelona, instead of paying 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 euros of rent to their landlord every month and basically throwing the money away without anything in exchange. Any specific tips for those people that you would like to share from your experience? Because you've gone through the process now. And it can be colleagues of yours, can be friends of yours, but I'm sure a lot of people have those questions.
The very first point would be looking at your financials with a slightly different perspective. So most of the people in my conditions have very stable jobs. They work since a few years, maybe in the same company. In the tech industry, we tend to have higher salaries. So my first suggestion is look at your financials, not only for what you earn per month, which is definitely very important because that determines your savings or your ability to save, but also look at how much credit a bank would be able to give to you for your stability, for your financial conditions, right? So that's the very first point, because it's very unlikely that any of us, especially at our age, can buy cash, right? So that's the very first step. Second, don't underestimate your ability to understand the market that is probably new for you. Don't overestimate the suggestions of friends that maybe they bought an apartment, but maybe you're looking for something very different. Maybe for you it's an investment. So you should look at it with a more practical and expertise. And if you don't have this ability, because it's very normal, maybe it's the first time you buy an apartment or it's the first time you even consider to buy one, look for people that can really help you and guide you through the process from the very beginning, which is understanding what you can buy. And what you can buy is determined by your financials, but also from your objective, right? At the end of it, maybe you want to buy it for living, maybe you want to rent it out and making it an asset to produce money. But then you're not really sure that you focus on the right objective until you don't speak with people that know more than you. Then trust
a lot
these
of people that come to us with, and they're ready to buy suboptimal properties. They think it's very good, and maybe the property is good, but we know from experience that something better exists on the markets.
Yeah.
And that would be a shame if you figure out later, after you've bought and paid everything and made a mortgage commitment, that I could have bought something better or at a better location or something bigger.
Yeah, that's a great point, because buying a house is not difficult. It's buying the right house at the right price in the right place, which is right for you, which is becoming exaggeratedly difficult.
Right.
So yeah, I would start from, let's say, the idea of the credit that you can get, and then going through the process with people that know the process, know the journey, they own it. And then, of course, having your gut feelings, which are a very important component of your buying journey, right?
When you look at the financial part, as a buyer, you have, of course, you buy the property, you have a purchase tax you pay the notary and the land registry. That's a small fee, but these costs you can't. I mean, there are taxes and fees. When you look back at working with Inspire, we are paid by the buyers, and we are buyer agents, so we defend the buyer's interest, we defended your interest. Now, how do you look back at paying for a service? Because there is a cost, of course, but is it a cost? Do you look at it as investment, the value for money? How should people look at this?
Well, you know very well my answer, but to share it with the people that will listen to us. Of course, at the beginning, it can scare you, right? Because it's an additional. You perceive it at the very beginning. It's very normal to perceive it as an additional cost on top of something that is already very pricey, right? Buying a house in Barcelona is not cheap. But then, if you look at all the mistakes and all the things that you cannot negotiate because you don't know, and also maybe you're not that able to understand in which parts you can really save other money thanks to someone that really knows this stuff, then if you consider all these factors, you start looking at the price of Inspire as an investment to make sure that then all the criteria are met respect to what you want, and also you found the best conditions, you landed on the best conditions to buy what you want, which is really not secondary aspect in this process. So you start looking at the price of Inspire as an investment to make sure that then all the criteria are met respect to what you want, and also you found the best conditions, you landed on the best conditions to buy what you want, which is really not secondary aspect in this process. So you start looking at the price of Inspire as an investment to make sure that then all the criteria are met respect to what you want, and also you found the best conditions, you landed on the best conditions to buy what you want, which is really not secondary aspect in this process. So definitely an investment for me. Definitely something that if I look in perspective right now after purchasing and I look back, I really realize, I really see, I can really put in maths the money that I've saved. So then, yeah, it's definitely an investment for me.
Right, great. Thanks for sharing all these great insights, Davide. You're planning your renovation now, so success for that. By the way, that's a point that was a very, very crucial decision throughout the process, because is it okay to buy this property? So we had to work a lot, I remember, on renovation cost estimates because there's no point in buying a cheaper property if you have a surprise in renovation cost. So success for that renovation now. I'm sure you plan it accordingly and very well, given your pragmatic approach to this. Thanks for sharing this. Any final comments you want to share with people?
Well, actually, yeah, that I'm looking forward to the next one in a couple of years now.
That's the right vision, building up assets.
Yeah, thank you, Raf.
Thank you, David. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for sharing this with our team. Bye-bye.